Forward now. Great. So welcome everyone. I'm Hannah Cyrus here at the Bangor Public Library. I'm the digital media librarian here in the reference department. And I just wanted to say a quick hi, introduce myself. I just started here a few months ago, so I'm still meeting a lot of people. But I'm glad you could join us today for this presentation about library resources that can be helpful for your small business. We're really happy to have TJ here with us from Reference Solutions. He's going to talk about this great tool that the library provides for everyone and kind of walk through how that could be used. And then at the end, I'll talk a little bit about just a few other library resources that might be helpful to you. And Donna, did you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yes, thank you. My name is Donna Cassesi. I'm the chapter chair for SCORE in Bangor. SCORE is a service organization, total of volunteers that help entrepreneurs either start a business, improve their business, or exit their business, as an example. We're really here for the life of the business, so it doesn't matter at what stage you're at. We're here to help. We actually have a couple of our mentors in this Zoom call today or in this workshop, so I'm excited about that. All you have to do to get started is really to go onto score.org and request a mentor, and we will find somebody that is a good fit for you and help you get to the next stage of your business plan. We have about 130 volunteers in Maine, and we have 33 in Bangor. So really look forward to the session with TJ. I learned a lot last time I went to this session, and I think you'll really be excited about the opportunities for you to get information that will help support your businesses. And really excited to start back with the Lunch and Learns again. We have taken a hiatus for a year, but we're back again. And at the end, we'll talk about what our next session is going to be, which will be in October. So thank you, Hannah.
Great. TJ, I think we're ready for you to take it away if you want to get started. And yeah, go ahead.
Super. All right, well, I'll start by sharing my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing on my computer. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, my name is TJ Pridell, and I am an account manager for Reference Solutions, which is a database that the Bangor Public Library subscribes to. So as long as you have a Bangor Public Library card, you can get free access to the Reference Solutions platform. I've been with the company for almost 7 years now. Prior to the pandemic, I used to travel a lot, so I'd actually be physically present at the Bangor Library, and we would do those Lunch and Learn programs. So hopefully there's a day where we can go back to doing that, but for now, we'll get to hang out in my dining room and get to know one another a little bit better. So as you can see on my screen, I'm on the Bangor Public Library website. If you need to access our resource, all you need to do is go to their research tab, and you'll find us under their online resources. This is a resource that's available within the library, and it's also available from work or at home. So it doesn't matter where you are, you can access the database anywhere that you're located, as long as you're in the United States. And then you'll select on our resource. It'll ask you for your card number and your last name. You'll click log in, then it'll take you to our homepage here. A little bit of background info. So Reference Solutions is owned by a company called Data Axle. We did recently go through a branding change. So you might have known us as Reference USA. So Reference USA became Reference Solutions. And then our original parent company was Info Group, and we were rebranded to Data Axle. There was no merger or acquisition. We did a rebrand. We changed and updated our logos, but everything that we've been doing for the past, 40 years or so, has really kind of stayed the same. We started up in 1972 originally, just as a phone book compiler. So the guy that started the company just had, he collected phone books, and he wasn't a crazy person. He did have a good use for that. So he would collect yellow pages, white pages, and then government blue pages. And then when a business needed sales leads, he would distribute sales leads in the form of names, addresses, and phone numbers in a simple list format. Since then, we've expanded quite a bit. So now we collect from thousands of different sources on the business side and hundreds of different sources on the consumer side. So our database conglomerates every business in the United States and Canada, private and public, home-based, online, retail, et cetera, and then every consumer or individual person in the United States and Canada over the age of 18, of course. So then there's a lot of firmographic selections that you can choose from. So if you're, a small business owner in Bangor or in the metro area or wherever, and you need to, yield a list of sales leads of all the beauty salon wholesalers making more than $1 million per year with a website available, with an owner contact title available, it's entirely up to you what you want to make of it. But the primary usage of our database is to generate sales leads, do market research. If you're an entrepreneur and you're starting your own business and you want to research, where potential customers might be or where competitors are throughout the state, throughout the metro area, you can use our resource for those purposes. All right, so before I get a little bit too far, if you guys have any questions at all as I'm going through this, feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you have, and I'm glad to take those questions as we go along. Otherwise, there is a chat box, and I will be monitoring that. So if you have any questions, you can also type it in there, and I'll keep an eye on it. Okay. First thing I want to point out, at the very top of our page, we do have a webinar schedule. So we do bi-weekly webinars. We do a job seeker course for individuals who are looking to use our resource to find a new job. We do a librarian staff training. If you're a patron, that's fine. You can actually attend those too. I think they're informative. So you don't have to be a librarian. It's a good holistic overview of the resource. But for librarians, we do train them as well. There is a business course. So if you want a refresher on what we spoke about today, we do these webinars for business owners and business executives. And then there's a Search Essentials course, which is for beginning users, how to get started. When I first started at the company, it was actually, they put me in front of a computer and they said, click around, before you know it, you'll be an expert. And there is some truth to that. So, and then our learning center. So we've got slide shares, brochures on, how to do market research, how to build a list, how to research an individual company, et cetera. And then at the top right, if English is your, second language and you need to translate the resource into any of these languages, we do have a language translator available to you. It's a simple Google translator, but it does get the point across. Okay. And then if you have any questions, so Hannah is well trained on the resource. Any of the reference staff, the library can answer questions, but you can also call us directly. So don't hesitate to call us. At the bottom of our website, you'll see our phone number and we'll have our email address. So if you're building a list, if you just feel like you're not doing it right, or if you could use some help with that, give us a call. If you like me, you can ask for me directly. That phone number routes directly to me or one of the other account managers in the department. So if you do want to keep speaking with me, that's just fine. I welcome it. So, and then before we get too far into the weeds, I'll give you a brief overview of each of the modules that's contained within the Reference Solutions platform. So there's 10 different modules. Each of them serves a uniquely different purpose. Most of the data is going to be housed in the U.S. Business Database or the U.S. Consumers and Lifestyles Database. Just depends on what your use case is. U.S. businesses, every business in the United States. Canadian businesses, every business in Canada. U.S. new businesses are businesses that have opened in the past 2 years. All of these businesses are also in U.S. businesses, but we have unique licenses that they may have filed for. People who sell to a business that is newly established, this is an easy resource for them to identify businesses that have just opened their doors. So if you're selling insurance, security services, contractor services, credit card processing, payment services, that kind of stuff, this is probably a good resource for you to find leads for your company. This database is updated weekly, so you'll see businesses that have just established themselves within the past week. dating back to 2 years ago. So you can establish the time frame and then identify the businesses that are new to the area. White pages, fairly straightforward. If you're listed in the white pages, you'll be listed in this module. I like it better than the whitepages.com because you're not going to get riddled with ads, and it's very simple to search up, reverse phone lookup, look up an old friend or colleague, or if you're just looking to see, who's in the neighborhood, what the general home values and home incomes are, you can search for that too in here. Canadian white pages, same thing, just in Canada. U.S. historical businesses are businesses dating back to 1997. So we've been collecting and compiling information for many years, but we started saving it in our server in 1997. So if you're looking for market trends, this would be a good database to be using for that purpose. Let's say you want to open a restaurant and you're looking at different addresses to lease space at. You could do a reverse, address lookup. You can see what businesses existed there in the past. One example I always use is there's this cursed restaurant location in Omaha. I feel like every city has one, but if you looked up the address of that previous restaurant, you'll see every 3 years or so, restaurant closes down, new restaurant takes its place. 2 years in business, they close down, new restaurant takes its place. 1 year, they're gone, new restaurant takes, et cetera. So maybe that's an identifier for yourself that maybe that's not a great location for restaurants. Not sure why that is, but worth looking into. So stuff like that. If you're looking for, trends in overall industry, which industries are growing in the local geography, which ones are on the decline, thinking of opening up a beauty salon, what's the open and close rate in this city, in this county, in this state, all that information you can get here. So it's a little bit more advanced, but definitely worthwhile for people just starting their business or for the research purpose. U.S. Jobs and Internships is a very simplistic module. So all of the job postings within the module are tied to Indeed.com. So if you are looking for a new career, job, you would use this module to identify opportunities in your area. There's linkage back to the business database that I tell people to use if they're looking to research a company before an interview or get to know the company a little bit more before they apply for a job. U.S. healthcare information is, all the info comes from the American Medical Association. So we'll have information on doctors, dentists, physicians, and surgeons. What kind of, do they accept new patients? Do they accept Medicare or Medicaid? What kind of medicine do they practice? Where did they go to school? That kind of stuff. So if you can use it for general purposes. If you're not in the healthcare field and you don't need it for business purpose and you're just looking for a dermatologist in the area, this is a very easy way to identify doctors in the area. We won't show you what insurance plans they accept, unfortunately, because that's been a hard data point for us to collect, but we'll provide you with the information to reach out and call. Consumers and Lifestyles is every adult in the United States. We collect information from credit card processors, open lines of credit, magazine subscriptions. So we're able to identify an individual consumer's purchasing behaviors, lifestyle interests, and hobbies. So if you own a retail outlet or if you sell direct to consumer, this is a good way to identify where your customer base is and what their demographic set is. So if you're researching individuals who is likely to buy your products and services, this would be a good module for you to do. If you want to generate a mailing list and do a direct mail campaign to the household level of individuals who are highly inclined to purchase your products and services based on their buying behaviors, this is where you would go. And then lastly is the U.S. New Movers and Homeowners Database. So we've got information on people who've just moved into the community. We do collect information from USPS. So you fill out that change of address form. We'll know you moved from point A to point B, from how far away you moved from. Businesses will use it for welcome campaigns. Welcome to Bangor. I own the local barbershop. Come on in for your first haircut for 20% discount. Up to you how you want to use it. But these are people who are new to the area, just moved in. Before I go any further, are there any questions that I can answer? I know I gave you kind of a larger, brief overview of each module, so it's a lot of info, but any questions before I go into the US business module? Okay, so I'll dive into US business. When we click on the module, and they'll look the same for every single module, it'll just be different data sets. You're going to see two different search options, quick search and advanced search. Quick search, if you're researching an individual company, this is where you would fill out the company information and click search or view results. And then advanced search is when you're building a market. So this is where most people are going to go straight to advanced search. Advanced search meaning like I'm looking for all the manufacturers in the state of Maine. Now, let's say we want to know more about LL Bean in Maine. It'll produce a list of every LL Bean in the state of Maine. So you'll see name of the company, the owner, general manager, CEO, just depending on whether it's a branch, subsidiary, or the corporate office, their address, phone number. And then on the right-hand side, we'll have a corporate hierarchy. So if you're ever interested in, where is the corporate office for this company, just simply type in the name of the company, come over here to the right, click on the corporate tree icon, and then it'll show you a hierarchy of who owns who. These arrows on the right will share kind of the same information. So like up arrow means it's a branch and they're owned by somebody else. If you see that down arrow, that means that's a corporate site and the own entities underneath them. So I do see the down arrow there, but if we click on any of these corporate trees, it's going to show you, who owns who. So the very top, we'll see that LL Bean is a privately held company, and then here's all of their branches across the United States. It'll show you their industry, how many people they employ nationwide, how many people they employ at each branch location, what they're making in sales revenue across the board. Once you select on a company record, it's going to take you to their detailed profile, share all the information we know about an individual company. Information at the top is going to be the most simplistic. So address, phone number, website, we've got social media feeds. You'll see that this is a quote unquote verified record. So what that means is we actually establish contact with the company by phone. We do have a call center in Omaha that employs 300 people. Every year we're making about 25 million phone calls to the businesses across the United States to verify the information that we compiled on them. Is it accurate and true? Is it as high quality as it could possibly be? Information is not perfect, but if we get that vocal confirmation from an upper executive, it really just kind of solidifies the quality of our data. So you'll see verified record for higher quality records, and you'll see unverified for lower quality records. We still go through the government sourcing, phone books, utility connects, disconnects, that kind of stuff to verify the information, but we'll get the vocal verification there. If you see any information that's outdated, wrong, needs updating, you can click on this data feedback button at the top, and then we'll update the information based on what you've told us. We'll research the claims. It's not like old school Wikipedia. You can't just, huck information in the database and then we'll accept it as true. You own a small retail outlet and you want to say, hey, I'm making $50 million a year. That's great, but we'll research the claims before entering in the info. Okay. If there are any job listings through Indeed, they'll be posted here. But if you are looking for a job, I always tell people to start in the U.S. Jobs and Internships module first, and then go back to U.S. Business to research that company. The SIC codes, NAICS codes, is an industry indicator. So this is just going to say that LL Beans is a sporting good retailer. And then here's some secondary industries that they are involved with. So, but this is their primary industry code. SIC and NAICS are government regulated. SIC codes we've enhanced with our own proprietary model to make the industries a little bit more specific. But more or less, they're the same thing. So it really doesn't matter which ones you use. And you don't have to be an expert on the codes to run a search. Unfortunately for me, when I started at the company, they made me memorize like all of these codes. And then I quickly found out it's kind of useless knowledge to have. So I got a lot of useless knowledge up in my head learning these codes. Just, be thankful you don't have to do that. You just type in sporting good retailers and then you can find them. There's a small blurb about the company. We usually just pull this straight from the company website. So who they are, what they sell, why they're important, etc. Google Maps is integrated with reference solutions, so we'll show you where that individual company is located on a map. Alternatively, in your advanced search, if you're looking for all the sporting good retailers in a very specific area on a map, you can actually draw it out on Google Maps. So that's pretty cool, and we'll go into that a little bit later. Most people don't know this, but Data Axle supplies Google with their address points. So if you ever went to Google and you typed in Bangor Public Library, that information you're used to seeing on the right-hand side, such as the address, phone number, website link, hours of operation, etc., come from Data Axle. So we supply that to Google. We do that for Yahoo, AOL, MSN, and Bing. Okay, so the demographics will show you information behind the company, how many people they employ, what they're making in sales, are they public or private, etc. If you're ever curious about where we compile some of the information, where do we get this data, you can click on anything that's underlined and it'll share our sources with you. So corporate sales volume, for example. Public companies have to disclose their sales revenues through their 10K filings, their annual reports every single year, quarterly. Private companies do not. So for private companies, we do have to come up with an estimate. The smart people at Data Axle will come up with a economic model to estimate how much they're likely to make in sales. The U.S. Department of Commerce will provide averages to us based on their industry, their geographic location, how many people they employ. Then we'll come up with a price per head, which will estimate how much they're likely to make. We do also get this information from the CEOs themselves if they're willing to disclose that kind of data. Management directory. So these are the top level executives of the company. If you're using reference solutions as a means of finding sales leads, this is the section that you're going to find the key decision makers at the company. So identify them by their name, their title, gender, and ethnicity. So if you're selling finance software, of course, you want to find the CFO at the company. You want to find a finance executive, HR related resources. You want to find an HR executive, etc. So we'll give you the phone number. We won't give any direct phone numbers or email addresses to the individuals. So you will have to go through a gatekeeper, but you can ask for the individual, which will increase your chances of getting to the right key decision maker. So list of names. Company news, we've got a partnership with Bing. If LL Bean is mentioned in any of what Bing deems as a reputable news source, will automatically publish here. This is one section that we don't have to manually update. So you'll see articles, just released today. And then you can click on, read more. It'll take you to a third-party link that you can read more about what's going on with LL Bean or whatever company you're researching. Stock data, we've got it if you need it. This is a privately held company, but you'll have the New York Stock Exchange ticker symbol and a Google Finance link that you can follow. Business expenditures are going to show you where the company spends most of their money. This is going to be a model as well, so an algorithm that estimates, unless they do disclose that data. It's been almost 7 years now, but I actually started using, it was Reference USA at the time as a job seeker. So I literally got my library card just so that I could use Reference USA. And I had a background in account management and outside sales and business development. So I use Reference USA as a means to showcase my ability to search for sales leads on behalf of a company. I would print out business records, bring them into my interviews, and I'd say, hey, you're an office equipment and supply wholesaler. I found all the companies in Omaha, Nebraska that are, making, over $1 million in revenue with high expenditure report and office equipment and supplies, maybe you can help them reduce their costs and become a supplier for them. They've got a budget for it. There's market share to be had, etc. So I saw the light bulbs go off, but I'm not a great exemplar of how to find a job with the database. I didn't get any of those jobs. Ironically, I ended up working directly for Reference Solutions. I think I had just nerded out a little bit too much in the database as a patron, and I ended up working for them. So it's kind of funny how that worked out. But I always recommend people use this if they're in the sales industry. UCC filings are uniform commercial codes. So if you need to see where the company's assets are, we've got their source filing IDs and secured party dates, filing dates. Okay, I've actually never seen this. Usually there's, so we'll show nearby businesses and competitors. We might be running a background update, but this will show you businesses that are nearby and people that they're directly in competition with. And then there's a historical sales volume chart showing how much they made in sales year by year for the past 20 years. Be a little bit more accurate with public company. It'll fluctuate more since this is a model. It should sustain, for the most part for a lot of private companies, but we'll see if there's been any changes in employee size or sales volume. And then there's a historical report. So if they've changed addresses, changed CEOs, you'll be able to see any of those changes. Okay. So that is a detailed record. I'm going to move into the advanced search section. I'll pause briefly to see if anyone has any questions about some of the information supplied on the detailed record for an individual company, and then we'll, get started building lists. Okay. So within this market here, here's where you're going to build a list of companies relevant to your own business interests. So depending on what your business is, what you do, who your customers are, this is going to be a way for you to identify sales leads or to identify competitors. If anyone wants to share their own personal experience with either a business they own or a business that they're consulting with, or a past experience, I can build a list off of that. Otherwise, I'll just use some general examples that I've done in the past. A few years ago, I worked with Economic Development Center out in Lewiston, Auburn, actually, and they were looking into the dairy farming industry at the time. So they just wanted to know where are all the dairy farms in New England, which is a very simple search. So on the left-hand side, first thing I'm going to do is establish a geography. You can do this one of many ways. So map-based search, the Google Maps example that I talked about earlier, drawing on a map. But for what they're doing, just simply selecting each state in New England. So I'll click on city/state. They'll populate a box in the center. And then we'll click on every state in New England. Okay, so we've got our geography selected. Under business type, I'm going to click on keyword search, and I'm just going to type in dairy farms. And then I hit search, I just hit enter. What's going to populate here is dairy farms, and then anything that's similar to dairy farms. So you'll see farms, steer farms, homogenizers, creameries, etc. But for this example, we're just looking for dairy farms. If we scroll down further, you're going to see more options. But for the Economic Development Center, all we wanted to know were how many dairy farms are there and where are they located. So I'll come up at the top right and click Update Count. So we'll see there's 129 verified dairy farms in New England. If we include unverified, you'll see this count go up to 319. So if you were going to do a mailing list, I would just stick with verified. But for market research, I always include unverified. So I'll view results, and then we'll get a listing of every single dairy farm in New England. So we'll have the company name, the owner of the farm, their address, their phone number, contact info, etc. what you might do with this now, so if you sold a service to specifically to dairy farms, you might just use this as a call list and go through this one by one, pick up the phone and ask for Chris, ask for Mary, ask for Chris. The great thing about this is you can extract the info, so you don't have to stay in the platform. Check mark all the records that are of interest to you. You'll have to go page by page. So it's a bit of a tedious process, but you can download. So click the download button. Extract all the info into an Excel spreadsheet. Download or email it directly to yourself. When asked if you trust reference solutions, you say, of course, yes. Don't even read the message, you just say yes. Okay, so now we've got a condensed spreadsheet of all of the data that we saw in LL Bean for every single one of these dairy farms. So their owner, their address, their phone number, their sales volume, their employee size, the company description, their website, etc. All of that info. This spreadsheet is universally compatible with all CRM software. So if you're working with someone or if you've got your own CRM software like Salesforce or HubSpot, you can upload this spreadsheet directly into the CRM software. It'll automate, create a lead list for you that you can work from, create company records with contact name, contact information, etc. It's also compatible with mail merge. So if you did want to use this for a mailing list, you could do that. Upload this into mail merge, create a postcard, flyer, brochure, upload your HTML design, and then use this as a means of sending out your promotions via mail. So I do see a question. It looks like it's being answered, but can individual entrepreneurs come into your library to get one-on-one help with the reference solution searches? Okay. So it looks like Hannah's got that. So yes, they can, and then Hannah would be a good contact for that. Absolutely.
I have a question about unverified.
Yeah, go
Could
ahead.
you talk, what is, so unverifieds are known about. What, could you say a little more about what that is?
So for me personally, I stick to verified searches only unless it's absolutely necessary to include unverified records, just because of the trustworthiness of the data. Especially if you're doing like a direct mail campaign, or if you're calling on a business. So we start out with the phone books, names, addresses, and phone numbers. We'll move to government sourcing, so public record, utility connects, disconnects, Secretary of State filings, Better Business Bureau listings. All of that data is used to compile an unverified record. I don't like the word unverified because it sounds like we didn't do our homework. All verified means, the only difference between verified and unverified is we picked up the phone, established contact with an owner, an executive at the company, and went through some of the most important data points within their record and verified with an actual human there. So unverified, for the most part, like the most important data elements are still accurate. So like phone number, address, their industry that they associate with. Where unverified records really start to lack is, maybe with the executive directory, maybe with, some of the details behind the business. So like, we have so many data points, it's hard for me to say, but yeah.
Is it possible that any of those may be in startup mode? How is it that you might scan for other startups in progress? Is that possible?
Well, every time a business files for a brand new business license, we're collecting those records from public record. Any government filing that's issued for a company that's just opened its doors, they've got their incorporation date, we get that data and then we put it into the database.
As what category?
We don't actually have like, so usually it'll start in the US new business database.
New
And
business.
then as we collect more information on them, we'll move it over to the US business database, and then that record will exist in both databases. The new business database will show the business license that they applied for. We won't have that data in the US business record. It'll just exist like all the info you saw from LL Bean. There won't be an incorporation date when they started, but that info will be in the US new business database.
Okay, I just, because, we're in a large rural area, state, I just couldn't help but wonder if unverifieds maybe have more importance in a large rural state for identifying possible competition, or someone who's thinking of the same idea and putting it in, implementing it at the same time you or your client may be, your business startup client could possibly be. That's why I asked.
My recommendation, if you're doing market research, definitely use the unverified records. So if you just want to identify how many competitors do I have in the local geography, how many potential customers do I have in the same geography, use the unverified records. If you're using it for sales leads, then use verified only.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so all the information in the spreadsheet, CRM software, mail merge, that's probably going to be your primary usage of this. A lot of people will just save the spreadsheet and then work directly off of this. There's a lot of data in this file. You might not need this much info, but I mean, at this point, it's up to you. You can manipulate the file with all the necessary data points that's applicable for your use case. Okay. So I'll go back. In addition to generating a list of sales leads, there are some market research components that you can keep in mind. So at the top, you'll see this heat map option and then a charts button. So both of those buttons will show you a visualization of the data that you've yielded. So if we click on heat map, this will show us a saturation of where those dairy farms are most densely located throughout New England. An example of this, so our 1-800 line, it's always open. I once received a call from a pet store owner in Stamford, Connecticut, who business was going well for, and they wanted to expand to a second location. They were just not sure where they should do that. I ended up spending like an hour on the phone with him. So I really hope that my advice was useful, but what we did was we did 2 separate searches, one in the US business database and then one in the US consumers and lifestyles database. So we originally did a search for all the pet stores in the state of Connecticut. Those were his competitors. And then in the consumers and lifestyles module, we did a search for all pet owners in the state of Connecticut. And then we did a heat map in both modules, saved both of the visualizations and then put them side by side. So we're able to see where there's a high saturation of pet owners, but low saturation of pet stores in those same areas. Outside research like populations of each of the individual communities that they're in, foot traffic, that kind of stuff. But they were able to identify where their areas of opportunity were to open up their new store. So that might be a use case for you if you're in those beginning stages of opening a physical location. Once we zoom in, each of these dairy farms will pinpoint. So you'll see, brief information about each of the dairy farms if you click on them. And then we'll rank each of the dairy farms on the left-hand side in terms of sales revenue, biggest to smallest, and then you can scroll through these. If you are a student, we do have MLA or APA format cited. All you have to do is copy and paste. And then we'll go back. So I'll do one more search in business, and you'll notice that this took up most of the time, and there's a reason for that. This is where the bulk of our data is within the database, and then I'll go into the consumer module. But I'm going to do a quick search for all businesses in Bangor. I'll scroll down further. Under special selects, I'll select professionals all/1, and I'll search for one professional per business. What that's going to do is, there's like 5 lawyers in a law firm, 10 doctors in a hospital. Anyone who files for a specialty license, like a doctor, a lawyer, an insurance agent, technically classified as one business. We do one professional per business rather than getting 10 doctors at the hospital, 10 records. We'll get just the hospital, 1 record. So it's better overview of what the community looks like as a whole. So we'll view results. And then at the top, I'll select charts. And then we'll see a visualization of the most popular business industries in Bangor. So it is medical, physicians and surgeons, restaurants. Funny that ATMs shows up, so there's a lot of places to get cash in Bangor. But these are the 7 most popular business industries. And then if we scroll down, it'll itemize each of these industries and give you a total count. So good for research purposes, and then you can go into different facets of research like sales or employee size. Half of the businesses in Bangor making less than $500,000 per year, small businesses, but there are a good breakdown of larger companies there as well, or by employee size. And usually there's correlation between employee size and sales, so the chart will look fairly similar, but yeah, you can see number of employees within the city of Bangor. Okay. So now, and then I'm glad that you could unmute your mic and ask a question. If anyone else has any questions on the business side, or if I missed anything, just let me know. But I am going to move into the consumer module at this point.
Should I wait with my question?
Oh, no, go ahead. You can ask it now.
Trends. Is there anything that gives, like especially a COVID trend period of time for the data that you just showed in like the last screen, and looking at the different categories of businesses? Is COVID and trending captured anywhere if you wanted to figure out? Because a lot of times the data doesn't, it doesn't catch up with right now or current. So is there, is there anything to look at that helps with that?
I'd probably say the U.S. Historical Business Database is where you'd want to look at trends.
Okay.
The information isn't, complex and in-depth. I mean, there's like market research companies will give you like very deep analysis of each industry and how COVID might have impacted each of those industries. We don't really do that. But if you do want to look at, say, what the open and closure rate is of businesses in a certain industry in a certain geographic area, you could use a historical business database for that. Every year, we'll load a data set into historical business. So the last data set that was uploaded in historical was 2020. At the end of 2021, we'll update our 2021 file. So you'll see businesses that were in existence in 2020. 2021 will be very telling because it's, post, I want to say like post-COVID, like it's not ongoing currently, but you'll at least be able to see how the trend has continued beyond 2020. Oh, and actually, I guess you can include, oh, never mind, it's grayed out. That was so you might do a quick search on So let's do, I'll do this real quick, but we'll do a keyword search for beauty salons. So I'm going to select multiple industries. Let's do cosmetologists, manicuring, barbers, tanning salons. There we go, and beauty salons. So let's do those 5 industries. Let's say we wanted to identify trends within these 5 industries. And then in geography, I'm going to do the entire state of Maine. And you can get smaller than that if you want to. I'll view results. Oops. Oh, I have to select a time frame. So let's do, I'm going to select every single year. Okay, and then view results. The results aren't going to tell you much. It's just going to show you each of the business records that exist, within those industries. And then you can click on each of these triangles if you want to see, where was Second Stop Hair Shop. Owner has always been Mary Ann. They've always been located there. They haven't moved. But where you're going to find the trends is under the charts.
Okay.
So this is the open and closure rate of those businesses within the state of Maine. So from 1997 through 2020, you'll see growth. And then there is a declining trend, probably I'd say since 2013, start trending downward in terms of total businesses. By SIC code, we'll see them itemized. So most are beauty salons, followed by manicuring, followed by barbers and tanning salons. And then you can get it in a different format. So like line graph, pie, bar chart, whatever's most useful for you to generate that info. But once you scroll down here, you'll see each of those lines in terms of total businesses opened by industry on a year-by-year basis.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. All right, so let's get into the consumer database. Like I said, so this module is used for individual consumers, buying behaviors, lifestyle interests, and hobbies. We'll track their purchasing behaviors. We'll get data from the credit card processor, open lines of credit, magazine subscriptions, internet purchases. So let's say if, let's say Hannah goes to the Home Depot and she swipes her credit card there and she spends $500. We'll have no idea what she bought. We don't get any data from Visa or MasterCard or anything like that. From the processor, we'll know how much money she spent at what type of business, so a home improvement store. We do get information from the household level, like title and deed on the house, mortgage and lending through the bank, which will estimate what her home income is. So based on her home income, we'll have an algorithm estimate what's her propensity of buying services related to home improvement based on the dollar value that she spent and on a reoccurring basis. So it is quite a deep mathematical calculation, but we will estimate and rank her from 0 to 9. So if she falls within that 6 to 9 category, it means she's highly inclined to purchase services related to home improvement, do it yourself, anything home improvement related. And then she'll end up on basically a marketing list. So if you go under lifestyle interests, these are all the lifestyle interests that we're tracking. Each of these can expand so you can get a little bit more specific on what you're looking for. And then obviously for this use case, if you owned a home improvement store, you'd want Hannah shopping at your home improvement store. Based on her buying behaviors, maybe you want to start marketing to her. Okay. Let's say you own a nonprofit business and you're looking to do a fundraising campaign. We do identify charitable donors. So if you wanted to identify all of the charitable donors, I'll do a city search and I'll look within Bangor. If you're doing a mail campaign, it's very important that you select one contact per household. So instead of sending 3, 4 mailers to the same home, you're just sending one mailer per house. That's very important. It's going to save you a lot of money and it'll make you look like you know what you're doing. You open up your mailbox and you get 3 ads for the same company. Headache for you and a headache for the person receiving it as well. So that's not good. So do one per household. We'll notice there's 2,954 households within Bangor who've been flagged as highly inclined to donate to charities or nonprofits. We can also overlay that with their home income. So if you're only looking to reach out to people of a higher income threshold, you can choose the income that you're interested in. So let's say households making over $100,000 or more in annual income per year. This will reduce the record count to 774 households. View results, and you'll get a listing of names, addresses, and phone numbers. And then from here, you would extract this data into the spreadsheet, upload it into Mail Merge, and then create your postcard and send it out. So we clicked on George's record. Details you might see on an individual is, so we see that George is male, he's married, been in the same home for 12 years. We'll have him located on a map. We do get census information, but we do also collect our own information, like I said, title and deed, mortgage and lending through the bank. So we'll have our own modeled household income and home value versus what the census is reporting. They should be fairly similar, but there will be a difference. And then these are all the lifestyle interests we were able to track on that individual. So if you own a retail outlet, if you own a direct-to-consumer business, these would be identifiers that you want to look out for an individual you might want to market to. The individual records only help you so much, but you want to look at a larger audience that you want to reach out to. Okay. Everything you see here are all demographics. So if you're trying to find people by their age, by their gender, their ethnicity, their political party, their religion, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to generate a list of names. We do have to draw the privacy line somewhere, and this little section, consumer snapshot, is where we draw the privacy line, I suppose. But if you want statistics, you know, what is the makeup of Bangor, generally speaking? Male, female, home income, occupation, ethnicity, gender, etc. So you can get statistical information on general areas of your choosing. Okay, so we're nearing time. So I kind of want to open it up to you guys for more questions. If there's anything that you wanted me to expand on. Now, I know I didn't go into each and every one of these modules. We just simply don't have the time. But the two most important ones to focus on is US business and US consumers and lifestyles for lead generation. For trends, like that question we got earlier, which was great, would be through historical business. And then if you have specialty leads that you need to follow up on, new movers, healthcare, new businesses, that kind of thing. So I'll leave it open to questions, or if you want to use your own business as an example, I'm all for it. So I'll leave it open to you at this point.
Thank you so much, TJ. Does anybody have questions or anything they want to share about like what they're looking for, you know, with a business that you're running or thinking of running that you want to kind of have another example shown? Quiet group.
I am typing my email and my phone number into the chat box right now. If after this you ever want to get in contact with me directly, you want to build a search or you want to do research, you're not sure how to go about it, feel free to reach out to me. I talk to patrons of libraries within my territory on a daily basis, so always happy to have a one-on-one session with anyone who'd like it. So
Great. Thank you, TJ. And yeah, if folks want to put, you know, clients or come in yourselves to the library, if doing something in person is better, I'm happy to work with you one-on-one on additional questions or just practice using this. And anybody in the reference department, like TJ said, is familiar with this tool, so you can just come right up to the reference desk and ask for help anytime.
I have
We
one
have
last.
at SCORE used, oh, go ahead, Carrie.
Just one last question. If we have clients who are really far away from Bangor, is this available like as if, I don't want to say interlibrary loan, or would it be like somehow accessible to someone, say in Washington or Aroostook County, to be able to somehow use it from afar?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's tied to your library card, and any resident of Maine can get a card at the Bangor Public Library. So I would say if they don't have a Bangor card already, they should get in touch with our circulation staff, and they're usually happy to work out a way, even if they can't come in person to sign up for a library card, they can either work with their local library or get a special arrangement to have a card sent to them by mail. And once they have that library card, the resource is all online and they're able to access it that way.
That's great. Thank you
Great
so much.
question. This is really, from a score perspective, this is a great way to give people information before they start a business or ways to grow their business. And so who are the clients maybe they're not reaching? So I really would urge, for those of you on the call who are thinking about a business, whether it's get in touch with Hannah or getting a score mentor, this is just an incredible resource in terms of knowing who has a pet and who's likely to, give them the 20% discount and see if they could come in for the first time. This is really, I think, just a great service for us all. And as Hannah said, if you live in the state of Maine, you have access to this once you get the library card. I live in Skowhegan and I have a Bangor library card and I can go in and do this work on my own. So really great opportunity. I think this is just, TJ, this has just been, I think, a really great introduction. I think after this, everybody wants even more information. So that's the way we ought to leave it. I do want to mention that Hannah and I are going to be doing this once a month. And so next month, it's October 20th. And we're going to have Jim Maycomber from Main Street Finance is going to be telling us what his organization does for entrepreneurs, and particularly for those who have a need for borrowing money, have a need for one-on-one resources. They really provide just a great opportunity. So again, for those of you who came today, we welcome you to sign up for the next workshop, which is October 20th. And we've got a good plan. I think we're going to have Better Business Bureau, Hannah, in November. So we've got some really good opportunities coming up, and let your friends know that this is a place to get some information. And again, if you'd like a mentor, just sign up with score.org. So
yeah, and I know we're about at time. I'll just mention that if you look on that same page that TJ showed earlier to get to the reference solutions database, there's a whole list of other online resources that the library provides, some of which are just general interest, ebooks and audiobooks or New York Times and that stuff, but others of which are also like very helpful for businesses. There are different databases with like literature, like if you're looking to keep up on the news of different trends and things, you can find stock information, business publications that you can access articles from. So take a look at that databases page, and all that stuff is accessible to you if you have a library card.
do you want to talk about your business resource center? Because some entrepreneurs would like to be able to use a place where it can be quiet and they can get work done.
Yeah, so I mean, the library in general is open to anybody, anytime during our open hours to come and sit. We've got internet. And then in addition to that, we have the Allen Business Center, which is sort of its own little business that operates out of a corner of the library, where folks can purchase a membership to have access to that space, whether it's for the day while they're in town or on a longer term, weekly or monthly basis. And that has a couple computers in there that have additional software, like it has, Adobe software, so you can get access to InDesign and Photoshop and some of those fancier programs, as well as QuickBooks. So, those computers are available for folks who get a business center membership, and there's meeting spaces and things. So if you're interested in that, you can contact the reference department to learn more.
Thank you for everybody attending. Hopefully we'll
Thank
see you
you.
next month.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for trying out our first hybrid program in this series. And it was just me and Donna here in the room, but maybe next time we'll have some more folks in person. But I'm so glad we're able to have folks join online too. And thank you again to TJ for joining us remotely.
Yeah, well done.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Have a good afternoon, everyone.
You too.